alike for the League of Legends game. Today we're going to be tackling the Firekeeper, and with me is a living flame. Oh my god!
No, it's actually me. I'm sorry.
What? You had me fooled, Happy Light Sense. I thought you was the actual flame, but it turns out you just bamboozled me.
I was the actual light.
Well, let's just, I'm just going to send around a few things to Twitter and the like. Hopefully it's still working. But yes, for any of you guys, so I don't imagine anyone's watching immediately, but for any of you guys who are watching back the VOD afterwards, so we're going to be designing a League of Legends champion. We've kind of got a vague idea coming into this one. So, Happy, what was the initial impetus for our idea today?
So I like to browse on Reddit a lot. Oh, well, maybe not a lot, but I do that from time to time when I'm bored. And there are a lot of people out there, like, sort of explaining the champions that they want in game in like lengthy threads, and it's always really interesting to see that. And one of the things that people wished for was something that we want to tackle today.
Yes, so the idea of a male enchanter, that's M-A-L-E as opposed to sort of an enchanter the post.
Yes,
So
although that would be interesting.
There was a spelling error on the request, and so we made what you guys wanted, which was a postman. I guess, well, we've kind of got to define our terms a little bit here. So, what makes an enchanter as opposed to not an enchanter?
Oh god. Okay, so, I think a lot of people had some problems seeing Rakan as an enchanter. So, I believe in the Reddit post, Rakan was mentioned as the last, or like the Riot's attempt at making a male enchanter. And it sort of makes sense because he gives you a shield and he gives you a little heal and he has some crowd control in there. But for me, he always seemed more like a sort of initiator, even though he's not particularly tanky, but he's like fast and he has the mobility to get into a fight and get out of it relatively unscathed, I'd say. At least when he was strong. Like, at some point they just nerfed him into the ground and then he couldn't do anything anymore, but they seem to like to do that with all the cool champions. Yeah, but most enchanting champions, most enchanting supports are female coded, so like Lulu, Janna, Karma to an extent. Oh, well, what do you say that Karma is an enchanter?
I guess.
She only really has the shield though, right? That's the only enchanting thing that she does.
I guess, yeah, she's got the sort of crowd control, but I guess it's more thematically enchantering than it is maybe like. So, what would be the closest thing to an enchanter? I suppose what defines an enchanter in your eyes? Like, is it that they play they're kind of a mage who plays a more supportive role?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say so. Also, it's sort of like they're not innately offensive. They just sort of buff the people that are supposed to be offensive. So they have shields, maybe heals, or some sort of spell that amps up your attack values in a way, or maybe makes you tankier. Something along the lines of that.
Okay, sorry, so we've got buffs, shields. Sorry, what the ones I was typing?
Heals?
Okay. And is there anything that you would feel that would kind of like, I know because people were saying with Rakan that he didn't really feel like an enchanter. Is that because of the leaning more into the engage part of the equation?
I think so. It's because his W is sort of disruptive. Like it's a field, an AoE that you place on the ground, and then you hop there and knock off the people that are in there. And then his ultimate is a charm. So you run really fast, and everybody looks at you and is charmed by your amazing dancing skills, I suppose. But then combine that with the E, which is also another mobility thing. So they played really heavily in the mobility department, maybe because his counterpart Zaya doesn't have mobility in her kit, except for the ult, but that just makes her untargetable. But she also doesn't really move anywhere. I don't know. I feel like they tried to make him enchanty with the most they could do. So he does shield people and he does heal people, but because of the fact that his like moving around stuff is so definitive of what he is and what he represents in the League community, he doesn't really feel like an enchanter.
Oh, sorry, I just realized, are you okay with me tagging up everyone in your server as well?
Sure. Sure.
Okay, cool. Alright, so let's talk a little bit about, so we've got sort of an idea of what an enchanter is, or at least hopefully. So there's a couple of thematic ideas which I thought would be interesting for us to explore. So if we talk about fire as a whole, because I want to kind of try and make sure our champion does it, you know, that we try and come into this with a little bit more of a theoretical grounding, and by having someone who's based on something which is very well known, like fire, like everyone understands something about fire. Whether they're setting their noses on fire with it, with the dangerous candles, or cooking marshmallows. There's a lot of association there. So, for you, like, if we're talking broadly in the sense of fire, like, what is, you know, for you, what does fire mean to you? What kind of meanings do you have associated with it?
Warm and cozy.
Okay.
One of the things that always comes to mind is candles. That's why I have one of those,
Sure.
like, right here. And it's like, you know how when you have a lot of candles lit in your room, it's actually getting warmer. You don't really notice it if it's just one candle, of course, or if you have a really big room that's very well, like, aerated. But if it's a lot of candles and it's a small room, then it gets really freaking warm. So it's like, it's a free radiator. Just get a lot of candles.
So that does tie into one of the ideas which is definitely going to come up in this one, because I know for a game that particularly like leans hard into this one is the Firekeepers, like, you know, because the name Firekeeper for me comes from Dark Souls.
Interesting.
Because that's a very central thing for them, is I'm trying to find a good picture to include in this. I mean, it's basically just a woman in what looks like cosplay, honestly, standing next to a fire pit. But I guess the association there is the. Thank you for colouring in my very impromptu drawing. So we've got like sort of hearth and home, so sort of safety.
Oh my god. I can play around with these, like, marker colors so much. It's so interesting. Oh god.
Oh wow, that's a lot more complicated than I was expecting the colour to be. Okay, so yeah, so we've got, like, I guess that's the thing, is like, I'm trying to think of why that is, and I guess it's because it's a very primal thing to be sort of huddled around the fire, and you don't really get flames in a. It's not really a natural thing, I suppose. It feels like that's something that separates sort of humans from the outside so much. It's like you don't find fires in nature generally.
Oh, it's like controlled fire versus wildfires. And with wildfires, we need to talk about a champion in League of Legends that's based around flame.
Okay.
Can you think of one?
Does he have a really on brand name?
Yeah.
Okay, so existing LoL champions. So brand, yeah, like 100%. This is always going to be part of what we're doing, is trying to find champions who have or already exist in the space.
Mm-hmm.
So
brand is really the opposite of what we want. He's a spellcaster, just a very damage-heavy mage, and his I think they updated his lore relatively recently when his story was sort of crossed over with Rises, and he became a human sorcerer or sorcerer apprentice, and then he got consumed by the world runes, magic, blah, whatever, and became a being of pure magic that sort of hungers for more magic. And that's another part of what fire is about. That is, if you have the wildfire side, it's just uncontrolled energy that wants to consume until it can't consume no more.
Okay, yes, I definitely... So, yeah, this is the whole idea of doing this whole thing here, is to try... Because I think the always consuming part is really important, and I think that's the thing, is that's an aspect of both controlled and uncontrolled fires, is that they always need feeding in some way. So, I definitely think that's an aspect we need to be bringing into any kind of fire-based design.
Sure.
Okay, so... Yes, we've got the control versus wildfires. Let's see, what other stuff? So cleansing, potentially?
Oh, yeah. Also, when you're wounded or something and you're out in the wild, can't you use a piece of burning wood to cauterize the wound?
Yes. Okay, yeah, I like that idea. So cauterizing, so in that, yeah, I like the idea of the cauterizing bringing in, because that gives us an excuse to have some kind of healing element in the kit where we're just Ramboing the wounds ah!
Oh, maybe it could be, that could be a secondary effect, that if you're close to that champion, grievous wounds don't work.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay, interesting.
So it's just a passive aura.
That's a cool idea. Alright, let's have that as a thing in there. There are no ideas that are not worth considering. Alright, so let's see. So we're already getting some good stuff. It's fire also lights.
Yes.
So provides light. I think as well, as part of that, sort of separates light from dark. That's something that Dark Souls really leans into, the idea of, it's the light is in this, when the world is dark, the light is the fire is what literally separates the light from the dark. That's kind of a fun idea.
Yeah, isn't there also this theory that darkness is just the absence of light? Maybe I think that's what Lux says. I think that's just one of her quotes. I'm not sure about that. So, if you flip that on its head, you could also say that light is the absence of darkness, but I think that's a bit stupid. Just doesn't sound right.
It's an interesting idea. I'll write it down as a... So what we tend to do with this is we won't keep all of these notes on screen all the time, but I'll have them off screen, and if they ever become directly relevant, I'll pull them back on.
Neat.
Okay, so that's some pretty good stuff to start with. Is there anything else that comes to mind in terms of fire? I suppose, cooking? I don't know if this will actually come up, but
it could be fun for character exploration. Sort of, I don't know, playing around with quotes and stuff.
Yes, I guess just generally, maybe I'll put this as more generally change. Fire involves a lot of change. So this could be cooking, making food from something inedible to something edible. Burning something is turning something from from wood to ashes.
Oh, what about this sort of idea that fire brings death and destruction, but it's also the one thing that used to keep us alive when we were in the Stone Age. So it has the function to give life and take it away.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like I think a lot of time when someone thinks an idea they've got is too obvious, it's like the other person's like, oh yeah. Because it's like, even though I think the best ideas are like that, where someone could have thought of it, but they didn't say it. So it's always worth saying it, even if it's something which seems kind of obvious. Like, I think the Preserver versus Destroyer aspect is interesting. Like, because, Brand... In terms of how... If we just jump back to the whole, like, what we've got already, which... It's just Brand, right? Brand is the only fire-based champion.
I think so. Yeah, there are a lot of champions based around the cold and ice and stuff because of Freljord. And some champions based around deserts and like just how deserts are hot, so those people probably have like some dealios with the sun going on, but nobody's really embodying the positive aspects of fire yet.
Okay. Alright, let's... So I'm just trying to do some volume balancing. So, alright. So we've got a bunch of different stuff to try out there. So, for you, let's kind of like finish off the stuff about what's in there already. So for Brand, what parts of fire do you feel like he does well?
I like his passive. The Blaze, I think it's called.
Okay,
Or
yes,
Blaze,
that's the one where you build up fire over time.
No, it's just a dot effect where you set the target ablaze when you hit them with an ability, and then if you use your E on a target that's ablaze, it spreads like
Let's
wildfire.
So, oh, hey Pete. So change of state. Is that something we put in there? Yeah, so that would be as part of the sort of change, cooking, burning. But I guess maybe that's a better way of putting it. Like, ooh, what's going on there? There we go. Change of state. So the Brand's passive is sets the target ablaze, dealing a percentage maximum health, so literally burning. And then if you use an ability on the blaze target, it spreads the fire. So
and like in connection with the Q, if you hit a target that's ablaze, the Q stuns. That's the only way the Q stuns.
Yes. Also, if you reach 3 stacks on enemy champions or large monsters, it creates a big explosion. So I guess the building up of the effect is pretty relevant there. That seems like that's pretty on brand. Oh, so Pete's talking about smithing metal when things melt when they get hot. Okay.
Oh, so I suppose that Ornn could then be considered sort of like connected to fire.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit because of the forging and stuff.
Melting, changing, forging. Okay, cool. Thank you, Pete. That's gonna add in some extra stuff. I think sort of. So yeah, so I guess Ornn is thematically fire, but I guess if we extend out the idea to include the creation of stuff, like his bellows breath being like a sort of cloud of sort of fiery ash kind of thing is at least sort of in the same kind of area of a potential ability. I think the rest of the stuff is more sort of like could be any kind of themey. Like if Ornn had like ice effects on his stuff, then he could easily raise a pillar of ice and rush into it and knock people up.
Right. With his skin, the Thunderlord, he has like electricity and stuff, so it's not all down to fire for him.
Yeah, so I think the bellows breath stuff is interesting. So that's which makes things That is the one ability that kind of like plays more into him being a smith, that it changes state for enemy. So the brittle. So I think we could potentially steal that idea a little bit, potentially, in terms of like providing some sort of debuff to other people that lets, especially as an enchanter, that we're trying to stay away from the idea that they can just sort of do everything themselves. So potentially, we could have something like brittle in the kit.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
We could think about it.
Alright. So actually, I was going to do this with Firekeeper as well, but I realised this more or less covers it. I guess maybe in brief. So Fireplace, Firekeeper, Hearth. Are there any sort of additional things you could think of in terms of...
Oh my god, I just remembered the lore piece. Ah!
Yeah?
It's the people... Oh my god, it's the people who, like, go back to the Shadow Isles to relight the altar fires to keep away the bad spirits. They're like...
Okay.
In Legends of Runeterra, there's this, like, beautiful illustration of this one, lady with a staff, and on top of the staff there's, like, a little fish, and it creates bubbles. And the bubbles are, like, golden.
Okay.
And I think the effect that it gives is, like, a barrier or something.
So sorry, what is it? So they light these altars, and what do these altars do?
They keep the bad spirits away. So, or like, they keep them at bay, something like that. So they try to keep the altars lit, to stop the black mist on the Shadow Isles from spreading around and, like, destroying everything.
Okay, that's interesting. So there's already someone or characters in lore who do. So we could base it on those kind of ideas.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember what those are called. There's like... I'm so angry that I can't remember.
Well, I'm sure it'll come back to you. I think it's one of those things where the second you start trying to sort of force yourself to remember it, it just like retreats, because it's like, no, knowledge, blah.
Ugh.
Alright, well that gives us a potential lore avenue to kind of tie into, which is interesting. Alright, so I'll keep the... Let's start moving into... Actually, no, sorry, just before we do. So was there anything additional? I'm not necessarily guaranteeing that it's going to be, but like, just to kind of like narrow in a little bit on the Firekeeper idea. So, for me it's like
I found them!
Okay, what is it?
They're the Buru priests.
Buru priests?
So, like, priests from the Buru Islands, which are like, sort of, between the Shadow Isles and Bilgewater.
So they're trying to keep the mist from spreading to Bilgewater then?
Yes.
Okay, that makes a bit more sense.
Yes.
Alright.
And they're like... I don't know, they have this like shiny golden stuff that they use to... It's like liquid, and they pour it onto the altars. And then it sort of spreads around a little bit, and like lights up a larger area.
Okay,
That's really nice.
So it's not like they don't light a lamp specifically, but they just kind of create light with what they're doing.
What? Sorry?
Huh?
They have like in the cinematic. They have this liquid that they pour onto the altars. And it's glowing golden liquid.
Okay.
And as it pours onto the altar, it sort of spreads around a little bit. And lights up a larger area. And I think that could be nice for an ability. It doesn't have to be a liquid sort of matter. It can be fire. So you just sort of set down a little flame in a spot, and then over time it spreads a bit and like lights up the area. So it's like a ward in that sense. Or maybe it has some sort of shrine effect. So when people step into it, they get a burst of movement speed, or they have like a healing buff for a short amount of time. And then for enemies, it gives them a debuff, or it sort of like gives you true sight for the enemy that stepped into that area. and then the flame disappears because it's scared of the enemy. Ugh!
Well, I mean, you're saying that, like, I do wonder if maybe, like, so yeah, I love the idea of having a fire which kind of like sets that buff, because I think like some of the stuff we were discussing before this was the idea of having a champion who kind of built a bonfire that would get bigger over time. Like you would like, you know, maybe to have sort of like a bard, like when you place down the bard chimes, the shrines. Yeah, the idea that you could place that again and it would then make the effect be bigger. And so you could, you know, if you could protect an area, you could build a fairly substantial flame. I kind of like the idea that what about the idea that it is like a speed shrine where it doesn't get destroyed when the enemy come near it, but it just provides the effects to everyone equally. So it's a buff, but it's a buff that if the enemy manages to come in and take over that territory, they'll then have that buff for as long as it lasts. So it's a kind of a risk-reward mechanic.
I think, So it would kind of make it like a Skarner shrine?
Yes, it would basically be a Skarner shrine.
I don't know if I like that. We can keep it in mind, for sure.
Okay. Alright, well let's start moving some of this stuff out and then start actually getting into designing some abilities. And please, all you guys watching, feel more than free to weigh in. Again, we're going to keep a lot of this stuff like off screen just to give us space to work with, but it's all still here. It's just a case of making sure we've got enough screen real estate to work with. So,
by the way, I sent you the lore card in the ideas thingy.
Ooh. Okay.
So if you open that up, then you can click on Open Card Art beneath the description of the card.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
so
the picture on the card like cuts out the most important part of the art, which is that she's holding like a kind of a torch staff thing.
And that's like the liquid gold sort of light that they use to ignite things, or like to light up the shrine. We'll light my fire. Your love is my only desire.
Alright, let me grab that as the snipping tool and then I can...
'Cause I need...
Alright, so Abby, while I do that, not that I'm not enjoying your singing, because I am, could you kind of give me some initial ideas in terms of actual abilities? I think we've both kind of got some idea of what sort of stuff we might like in here. Because I think maybe, because it's such a broad idea, we're probably going to have more abilities than we can actually use.
I think I'm really into the idea to just steal the staff from this illustration. Maybe not this staff specifically, because it's like really based around fish. And the one that we could use is just like a staff that has like a flame on top of it. And that's like the weapon, or the casting item, I suppose. So you swing it around and then it does stuff.
Okay, so staff with flame on top.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So just like a big torch that you carry around.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
I
think a lot of stuff we're doing will be kind of obvious, but I don't think it's bad for that.
I think it would also be cool if, like, okay, so they have a queue, of course, and it is a skill shot, also, of course, because all queues are always skill shots, at least for the most part. But that one is like, you sort of shoot out a flame in a direction, and it's like, kind of like the brand queue, but maybe it has an explosion at the end when it hits something, and it lights up the area.
Oh, okay. It explodes and provides vision. I quite like that idea.
I think it would be very minor damage on like the explosion part, so that you would be incentivized to use that ability to scout for vision rather than to poke. Okay. Because let's keep in mind, we're an enchanter. We don't want to deal damage ever. Maybe sometimes, but not really.
Okay, no, I mean that seems reasonable. I think so. One thing which I wanted to try and make sure we definitely got in early on was, did I? No, it's cool. I already posted that. Was the idea of, I think probably for like an E.
Mm-hmm.
Is like setting a fire. Like, I think that's already something which I'm kind of like, I really want to be in there in some form.
Yeah. So like the little shiny thing.
Yeah, so it creates a fire shrine. So it's, I guess it's like a medium to long cooldown.
Mm-hmm. We just need to settle on who gets a buff from it. Because I'm not sold on the idea that enemies can also get one. It's just, it doesn't feel very intuitive, sort of.
Well, okay, well let's get the basic stuff down. So yeah, so it generates an AoE. So repeated uses, repeated uses. Sorry, yes, it creates a medium duration fire shrine. It generates an AoE. Repeated uses. I guess it's got to be refresh the cooldown, refresh the duration, and increase the AoE / effect. So that's the part which I'm kind of liking to have as a thing. Let's just move this picture out of the way for the time because we're going to use up our space really quickly.
So what do you mean by repeated uses? So you have to sort of interact with the shrine to activate whatever it does? Because I was thinking that it would just be a continuous AoE effect, like the healing shrine from Soldier 76 in Overwatch.
So I'm thinking that, so initially you put down like so it's like a circle, like a little fire circle. That looks more like a wizard hat than a fire circle. But, and then the second time round, so if you use the ability like on it again, so it's like a, you know, like how you click on a fresh lantern, like you use the ability again, then it just gets bigger until, and then it just sort of has the various different stages it can go through. Thank you for illustrating that. So that's like, yeah, this is number 1, it's number 2, and then it's number 3. Gosh. It's, arts is, not always my forte. There you go, 2 flames, 3 flames, I don't know. Give it a break. I'm not good at drawing with a mouse.
I can see that!
But does that make sense that, like, you would like to you kind of you build on it? I think the reason why I wanted it to be I figured that the reason I wanted it to kind of like to be a thing that potentially could be like team agnostic is like it's just kind of kind of like the idea of sort of creating an objective that to which then the other team can fight over. Presumably, like there should be a way to get rid of it in some fashion, like maybe stepping on it. Then like start like it's presumably it's got some sort of cooldown meter that would go like which would be going down continuously, but every time you use this ability you're refreshing it.
Okay.
I feel that's probably getting a little too deep into the weeds because at the moment we haven't even decided what this effect even does.
Yeah, that's like maybe if it's an effect that isn't too OP, we could sort of make it like a shared thing. But if it was healing, I wouldn't say it should be shared. That doesn't make sense. It's like, oh, we just won a trade in bot lane, let's just set up the campfire. And then your enemy joins you with like their own little pack of marshmallows and hot chocolate.
I mean,
it's like
isn't that wonderful? You just sit around the fire together, like, guys, we were fighting.
It's freaking amazing, but like, no.
I mean, it could be. Let's see. I think we should maybe leave it kind of open because I think a lot of this it revolves around what the champion's actually supposed to be for. So, like, my initial conception of this, I think, the reason I kind of wanted to make it objective-based was because I kind of figured, if this is a support character, like, you're going to set up in the bottom lane, that's going to be a fairly permanent base of operations. But later on, that it could be a person who's very strong around objectives because they get the chance to set up there and make the play around it. But by the fact that you are setting up in a set location, it kind of builds in some kind of counterplay, and that you're committing a lot of strength to one place, where the other team can just be like, okay, we're just not going to fight you there.
Yeah, that makes sense. But like, let's say we're in the objective phase of the game, where you're just trying to get, I don't know, a Baron or all the dragons or whatever, and you set up your funky little campfire and you max it out. You have like this huge ass 3 flame campfire going on, and then the Elder Dragon spawns, and then the enemy team comes to play, and everybody just gets buffed to hell because everybody gets buffed by this one ability.
This seems to be a real sticking point where I don't think it needs to necessarily be. You're right, it's important, but I think we need to figure out like a lot more about it before it's going to be clear whether or not it would be an effect that would make sense. So let's talk about some theoretical things. Let's just like throw out stuff and then we'll just sort of delete things as we go. So we've got healing AoE, like regen aura. Like, that's a potential way to go for it.
Yep.
It could provide vision extension.
It could provide movement speed boost, like the scuttle crab.
It could. I'm trying to think of like. I mean, I guess we'll just put it in there. Like, I don't know how that would sort of work thematically, but you're right that it's.
The floor is hot. I need to run faster.
The floor is lava. No.
No, then you wouldn't want to step on it. But we could do the floor is lava kind of option, where it's just the danger zone and you can't pass.
Well, I wonder if we've got the whole thing of the pouring out one for the homies idea, where maybe if we incorporated the kind of like, like the goo thing, which the goo, the eponymous goo of these priests or whatever, then maybe that could have some sort of interaction with the fire, like like a sort of a singed sort of thing where you kind of create a like an accelerant, I guess. Like it's an accelerant that has other properties as well. I don't know. I'm gonna spitball in there. All right, so other stuff. So we got an AoE regen aura, because that's kind of like the Hearth thing. I was thinking maybe this is probably one of the more out there ideas. Is the idea that you could recall to the fire. So like taking the sort of Hearthstone idea of it's a hearth, therefore you can Hearthstone to it.
Ooh, that's fun. But only you can do it, and not your teammates.
I don't know.
Because if your teammates could also do it, it would be really broken.
Yeah, I don't know. Like that's more of like it's thematically like kind of connected, not that it's necessarily a good idea.
It could be something like which ability of Yone's is the one where he like yeets forward and then at some point he just comes back like a rubber band.
Yeah.
It could be something like that where you have the option to sort of I don't know, disintegrate in lane for a couple seconds and go to the point where you last set your hearth.
Yes,
and then like go back, like rise from the ashes like a phoenix.
So yeah, I think there could be some fun stuff with that. I mean, that's literally just in there because Hearth and Hearthstone kind of have that thematic tying together. Not necessarily that it makes that much sense. I guess maybe we don't need to put... The other thing I had was, as a potential W, let's call it W1, because we're almost certainly going to have more abilities than we know what to do with here, which was, I wrote use the phrase like passing the torch.
Okay.
So I had this idea of doing a sort of a Tarek style or Yuumi style, sorry, not Yuumi, Lulu style thing of that you give someone else a torch, and then you can kind of apply your abilities from them. Though this has a lot of crossover with the bonfire thing in terms of like gameplay effect. So it may be one of these things. Only one of these things exist on the kit.
But I like the idea of sort of giving someone a piece of flame that accompanies them in some sort of way. I don't know, maybe. Hmm. Maybe it could be more like the Nami thing. Her E when they get like 3 spheres of water that when they attack apply on-hit effects. Oh, I don't know. They just make your attack stronger. And this could be the fire version of that.
Yes, I mean, like, I think honestly that's probably a pretty decent idea, like, just in terms of that. Actually, so one of the ideas that I really wanted to try and fit into here was the whole thing of, like, not letting the fire go out. But maybe that could be more something for the bonfire than it could be for the passing the torch.
It could be. It could just be like, well, then it wouldn't be something that was consumed upon them hitting people, but like, maybe it's something that when you stack your W multiple times on the same champion, they're just more and more buffed. So you have to, like, when it comes to team fights, you have to make a decision then. Do you want to give each of your allies the buff once, or do you want to buff one of your allies to be the very strongest fire wielder in the Fire Nation?
And what about the idea of having it that the buff has a thing where if you give the effect to someone, that it provides vision to the opposing team?
That's
Like...
so rude. People would troll their junglers all the time. We can't do that. Not even theoretically. Sorry. I know it works, like, on a thematic level, but trolls in League of Legends.
But what about if it's something that only applied on, like, say, the maximum version, like if you do it 3 times, that they burst into flame, and that provides, like, it provides more vision for you guys, like, extends, like, the vision range which you have, but also provides vision to the enemy of where your person is. I see you leaning into the camera to say no.
No! It's still a bad idea. It's just, you can't give them, you can't, like, it's, League of Legends trolls are children, and they will take everything from you if you give them the chance. Even if it's stacked 3 times, there will be a firekeeper running after their jungler, even if they run as fast as they freaking can, and they will stack that shit on them.
I really don't think we should limit our designs to stuff that cannot be potentially abused. In which case, Anivia's wall wouldn't have been used to lock me out of my own base in with the, with the enemy team, because that is the #1 troll ability, and there's no problems with that. Unless I play with my friend Pete, who would do it repeatedly. And the enemy would be so confused as to what was going on, they wouldn't attack me, because they'd be like, huh? Why would they lock them out of their own base? I don't know.
I suppose you could do it as like a trade-off. But I wouldn't really see... I don't know, like, it only makes sense if you buff the jungler, right? So, like, it only makes sense for the enemy team to see the jungler. So, this whole giving the enemies vision of your character if they're maximum buffed only really makes sense in that one instance. And in that one instance, it's a troll. I don't see another reason why giving the enemy
let's
vision.
Let's move on to that idea, because that's not a major thing for me at all. So we've got. So I think the problem with the passing the torch idea is, well, actually no. What would passing the torch do? Just kind of give someone, like, are we literally just stealing Nami's sort of infused thing to kind of give someone a burning effect on their auto attacks that just do damage over time?
Either that, or they're sort of like just boosted in their attack stats. like, I don't know, you relight their fire?
Oh no! Oh no! I feel like there's a DMCA coming in the air tonight.
No. I don't feel it. Yeah, but like, that could be the thing, that you just sort of, you light up the mood, you brighten their spirit.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, then they're like really excited to fight again. They're on fire. It never stops. It never stops.
Let's see. So, all right. So either we have like a dot, auto attack enhancer, or a attack speed boost. So basically, blood boil from Nunu. I'll blood boil from Nunu. Like, I think either of those things would actually be totally fine. I kind of want to over-design this sort of stuff just for the sake of it, but like, I do think the Q's, like, the thing is, I kind of feel like the Q you could sort of combine the W and the Q to have that you can shoot the flame through someone to get that same effect on them.
Yeah, I think that could be possible. But then, what else would you want for a Q?
Well, I mean, like, so you could have the Q that functions in that way, but you have the secondary effect in it if you shoot the flame through someone that it gives them a buff.
Oh! Yeah, sure! So you have to make a choice between either attacking the enemy for this incredibly small amount of damage that you get, or shooting your Q over a wall to get vision there, or shooting your Q through your allies to give them a buff. Would it still stack? So, like, can you...
Yeah, I think it could. I don't think there's any reason why it couldn't. Like, especially if it's not like a super long cooldown. Okay. That gives us a bit more room to work with. So, do we want it to be a auto attack enhancer or a general attack speed buff? I guess neither of these things are kind of like terrifically useful for anyone but the AD carry, I guess.
What about fighters?
Yeah.
What if you play with someone who plays Brand and their things interact?
Oh my gosh, that's definitely a.
That would be so fun.
I think you could potentially if burning was more like a status effect like poison, that would make more sense, I think.
Yeah, it's like the same thing where Cassio can heal off people who are poison darted by Teemo, or made the mistake to chase is singed.
Yeah, I don't like. I kind of feel like that was them sort of flirting with the idea of having sort of thematically associated teams that would which have synergies because of that. But they never really went through with it. I feel like ultimately, like, it's, that's the only interaction I'm aware of that has like a kind of like a cross champion, like, oh, these abilities work specifically well together. But all right, so if by doing that we've, what about Yasuo? Oh, I suppose Yasuo does. You're right, Wolf.
Oh, yes. Knockups, right?
Yeah, Yasuo does have that interaction with knockups. Also, hello, Wolf. How you doing?
Welcome.
Welcome.
You're welcome. You missed my great entrance and all my singing.
Well, that's what we've got the YouTube VODs for, which I definitely remember to do. Definitely haven't lost like half the episodes in the season. It's really embarrassing. And a real shame because there's some really good stuff in there, like the bonk owl.
Yeah, we lost the bonk owl.
Yes, it's a real shame. I might actually go back and like just do little videos to fill in the gaps on YouTube, just explaining what the stuff was in like a 5-minute long video.
I can do some funny voices if you want.
Yeah, that'd be great. It's one of the things I keep meaning to do, but I haven't. Alright, so we've successfully managed to crunch 2 abilities onto 1 ability with the Q, which is let's just call it the Relight My Fire.
Yeah!
So there we
Very
go.
happy.
Okay, so now we've got the if we want to include the golden goo stuff from the lore, we could include it here.
I don't think we need to include the golden goo because the golden goo is just like the brewer priest's version of like an eternal flame. An eternal flame.
Oh God, we're deep in the weeds here, Wolf. I don't think there's any recovery.
So I think it's just like if we assume that the Firekeeper somehow got a hold of an eternal flame, like you know how there's true ice, why wouldn't there be like a true fire? I don't think they would need the golden goo to do anything. I just pulled up the golden goo because it's like part of the brewer priest lore, and I was inspired by them.
Oh, what about for the Q? If you fire it through the campfire, that it does like it does kind of more damage or applies more stacks of the effect at once.
Yeah.
Okay, fire through campfire to get increased effect. Let's just say for the timing. Yes, you are Wolf. This is a stealth Twitch Sings episode. Because there's so much material generally about fire, so that's why I think this is a good idea for a champion. All right, so we still haven't figured out, and maybe Wolf can help us with this, what the actual fire does. But we know that you build it up, and it sort of becomes a contested objective. I mean, even if it doesn't apply its effect to the enemy, it would still be presumably contested because they want to kind of drive you off of it. Yeah.
So we're talking about the E now, which is this like sort of campfire that you set up, and Peter still tries to like push the idea that you can share a campfire with the enemy team.
I'm not suggesting you share a campfire. I'm saying that I mean, the thing is, it kind of, again, I'm not super married to the idea that the enemy can get like a positive benefit from it, because you kind of end up with the same sort of gameplay if the enemy wants to try and drive you off it. But I'm thinking like a kindred ultimate. That is a really good example of what this kind of effect can be, which is that it's a neutral effect. The whole life-preserving idea applies completely equally, and so you have this whole thing where you're fighting over that particular patch of land because it gives you a benefit to both teams.
But I think it works for the Kindred Ultimate because it's so instantaneous.
It's definitely a lot shorter of a thing. Yes, it's very similar to Skarner's Crystal Capture Points. There's a lot of abilities which are kind of like this. But I guess the whole thing which hopefully makes it more interesting is that you're kind of deciding where you're going to put this down.
So it's kind of like a Bard Shrine in that sense. That it sort of grows, right?
Yes. I think it's probably got most in common with a Bard Shrine in that you've kind of, with the Bard Shrines, you have to set up for it. And
yeah.
Like, you can kind of use it. I do think the Bard Shrines are kind of awkward in that way, in that a lot of the time later on, it's not worth it for you to be trying to set up long-term shrines around the place.
Yeah, the healing is also ridiculously low.
I think maybe they're supposed to be there as, like, speed boost primarily.
Probably. Or, like, they do work very well for early game lightning phase and stuff.
Yeah, it feels like they're a little vestigial when it comes to the later game, though. Like, it feels like they should change in some way to be have more point to them. But as it is, they're just like this little speed boost that kind of is. I mean, Wolf, you might be right, and Hack might be right as well, that it does thematically work better to have the people trying to put out the flame, since that's the big thing of the Keeper. Keep the flame awake! I
already know what they would be in a TFT set.
Yeah?
A Keeper.
Oh no! You got me! You got me! Oh, humanity!
Yeah, but it could be, like, it's sort of a bigger AoE, but there's a little point in the center, and if you stand on it for 2 or 3 seconds, kind of like with the
Rek'Sai tunnels.
Skarner. What? Yeah, or the Rek'Sai tunnels, or the Skarner shrines, or whatever. then it disappears. So the enemy has an option to like get on there and make it go away.
Make it attackable. Yeah, attackable, standable, either way around it. Like, it needs to be removable in some way. I get the impression like sort of the specifics of how you get rid of it is important. I suspect that would really require it to be sort of tested in the game to see what is most satisfying to play with and against.
Probably.
I think probably if it was attackable from a distance, the attacking it would then take it down a certain amount rather than just killing it straight away. Because I feel like that would be too fiddly if someone could like dash in, it's dead. And you're like, well, I spent like 2 minutes setting this up. Blah.
Yeah, very sad.
But yeah, Wolf, if you've got ideas as to what it could do, because we're pretty open, like we've got really wild ideas in here from more straightforward, like it's a regen aura. We also had the thing before which you had like the no grievous wounds as part of the aura as well. Like it could have a bunch of different effects as well.
Oh, I think the no grievous wounds could be just the Firekeeper's aura. So if you're close to the Firekeeper, then grievous wounds go away. So when you're like in a team fight and you're fighting against someone with Model Reminder, then you're more inclined to like yeet out of there real quick, stand next to your keeper, and then go back in when the wounds are like caught.
Interesting. I don't know. I've just heard the phrase melty blood. I can't remember what it actually even means, so I tend to use phrases without knowing what they mean, which is maybe not the best of ideas.
Melty blood.
It's an arcade game, visual novel and fighting game. I hope it's not like really inappropriate or something. Let's see. It doesn't immediately look like it's like adult or anything, so probably okay. Melty Blood is a fighting game. Okay, well that's cool. It probably can't be that inappropriate then. So we've got two abilities sort of like left open, and of course we've just got revisions to the other abilities. This is still very much a work in progress. So we've got the Relight My Fire.
Relight my fire.
So right now they're very focused around controlling a sort of like a very specific area, like setting up in an area, a bit like Heimerdinger, I suppose, and then operating out of that. So we've got a W and an R. So,
yeah, I think they should be more enchanty.
Okay, so what would be enchanty? We've
a
already
shield,
got a buff.
A shield, a heal, something like that.
So we've got the attack enhancers, but something which is can't really be throwing fireballs at people anymore. Like we could the cauterize effect.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we wanted to like reach with the passive, so that grievous wounds don't work.
Oh, damage effect then heal. I like it. That's very Darkest Dungeon. The idea that you damage your teammate and then like you do an initial bit of damage to them and then they take then their heal comes in afterwards.
So it's like a little bit of damage and then like a heal over time, maybe.
Okay. What about like, yeah, if you could do it to allies and enemies, that's kind of
Ooh.
fun. What about
that's
if it's
something that Peter likes.
Yes, I love it. What about if
very quick, yeah.
Yeah, what if it applies grievous wounds initially?
No. What the fuck?
If it applies grievous wounds to the person you target on.
Yeah, but what about your passive?
I mean, I don't think the grievous wounds aura is something which is like hugely important to have.
I like it. I think it's a good idea, and it really clashes with your idea just now. Like, also, Wolf isn't sold on that either. I think it's a nice idea to, let's say, if you attack someone, and they have like a damage over time effect, it like makes sense because it's fire, right? But what if they use their funky staff to attack the person? So they sort of do like a sweeping motion.
Okay.
Instead of throwing a fireball. So the sweeping motion is kind of like like a Darius axe or
Which is good.
what Alia does with her little staff.
Or Fiddlestick's really awkward
Yeah.
reap thing.
And you sort of hit the person with like the searing hot metal part of the staff. And that's the reason why it's not a damage over time effect, because you just them real fast.
Like a father putting out a sea. Oh jeez, Wolf. Oh jeez.
That's fun! Yeah!
Okay, so wait, would this be, if you used it on allies, would it be a healing effect, and on enemies it would be a damaging effect?
No, it would be an initial damaging effect on both. And then for allies, it would be like a really fast heal over time. And for enemies, maybe a little bit of a slower heal over time. So you could essentially attack both with the same thing, but your allies would heal from it faster. And your enemies, like, I don't know, would be damaged for longer. I'm not sure if that makes sense.
So hey Padders, how's it going? Like, burst damage and heal over time. I think. So you were talking about the whole idea of being able to troll your teammates. Like, we've got ability you could use to try and last hit your teammates with. Like, legit, with this ability, you could try and try and kill people on the way out of a fight with it. I do think it's a lot simpler to have it be like a lot simpler for it to be damaging to enemies, healing to allies. But I do also like the cauterizing idea of it.
It could be that you, like, when you bonk your teammates, they get like a burst heal, and then after a short delay, they sort of lose a little bit of HP, or they get slowed or something. I don't know. There should be a drawback to it.
Well, I mean, maybe the easier way to do it would be that the enemies just don't get the healing, like that would be the most straightforward way to solve it. So it just
then we would need a reason why, like a thematic reason why your allies get the healing, but the enemies don't.
I mean, we don't have a thematic reason why most healing effects don't apply to your enemies.
It's because they're not on your team. What the frick? But yeah, I suppose we could make it work. Like, Nami's W also works like that, where you heal your allies and you damage the enemy. So it could work. It's fine. It's alright. We take it. We take those.
I just, like, the thing is, I want to, the thing is, I do like the idea of this. It's just, it feels like that kind of idea of healing enemies with it is, it's really interesting, but I feel like something like that should be more central to someone's kit, the idea of, like, providing benefits to enemies, than just kind of incidental. Because that feels like that's something you really need to be playing around as a team, that you're going to be healing the enemies, so you have to kind of keep an eye out for that. Whereas in this case, it would be, why are you Wing the enemies? You're keeping them alive. What if she can remove the heal effect?
It's a guy, by the way.
Yes,
it's
no, it has to be a guy. It has to be a guy, because... oh, that's right, we haven't specifically tried to work in the stereotypical masculine traits here.
We can do that later. But, like, Tato, I think you weren't around for, like, the whole last intro part. But we're trying to create a male enchanter here. Because Riot hasn't done those.
In 10
except
years.
for Rakan. And Rakan doesn't count, because we established that he's more of an initiator. Yeah, Pete was also thinking Dark Souls Firekeeper. That's why we have the name there. But no, we try to make it a dude, bruh.
Yeah, I know. Well, I think the Firekeepers are explicitly female in at least some. No, I think the Dark Souls Firekeepers are female, but I haven't played a ton of Dark Souls to know how important that is, or if it's just a kind of, you know, it's just happens to be that way.
Anyway, let's get back to the champion.
Yeah. All right. So we've got like a swing swong.
Ping pong.
Swing Song Bing Bong. Okay, that's what it's going to be called.
No, it's called Cauterize.
Alright. So Swing Staff does damage, does dot damage, then heal if used on allies.
You know that the word dot stands for damage over time, right? So it does damage over time.
Yeah. I mean, maybe you could just do additional damage on the enemies. Like, I don't know. Like, unless the dot is a lot of damage. So you damage an ally, then you heal them. Yeah, Patrick, that was the kind of the Cauterize idea, is to kind of take the idea from Darkest Dungeon. So in there's a warlock character who does like a sort of, is kind of like a Cthulhu kind of thing, where it's like he stitches the wounds together by literally kind of like slopping that flesh together. So it's pretty gross, and it creates a bleeding effect. But the bleeding effect like sort of negates the healing sometimes, because you don't know how much healing it's going to be either. So it's always a risk. Like most of the time it's a net positive, but sometimes it can go badly. I don't think it's going to go quite as wild in this case in terms of being like the dot do more than the healing, or kind of be random, but I don't think that adds a huge amount in this case. Yeah, damage an ally and heals them. I don't really know if we've got a sterling gameplay reason why this should be the case, more just thematic. How about the lower the hit points, the more the heal? Oh, I like that idea. Yeah. So effect is increased based on missing health. Yeah, that's already more interesting. So it's kind of an execute for enemies and and for allies it's more like a sort of thing you try and time correctly. Because I also like the idea that trying to give someone damage when they're already low on health. That's always fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting. I think that's one of the ones that's more fun. I mean, you definitely control your team pretty hard with it, but...
Yeah, but you established that you can also do that with an Anivia wall.
I love how this whole design process is just like come up with ways to kind of throw stuff back in each other's faces. What do you think about making the target flammable, a new keyword to allow allies to use the melty blood from the targeted ally? That's an interesting idea.
Which allows melty blood to work from the target. So
we were talking about poison as being more of a status effect. That could be.
Yeah.
something.
So it could be possible to like take from Brand, and give him the option to set targets ablaze, just like Brand can.
So maybe that could be part of the passive, like spells cause targets to become
Melty.
I guess I think flammables more.
Yeah.
Though flammable does sort of imply a larger amount of interaction with like flame effects than there is actually there.
Yeah. So maybe spells cause targets to be set ablaze, and then it connects back to Brand again.
I think Melty. Let's go with Melty because at least that doesn't like kind of give an impression. It gives an ally temporary melty blood. So that's so you apply the no grievous wounds thing by. Yeah, I think it's kind of fun. For a short duration. Yeah, I think that's kind of cool because it's not on all the time. Maybe the campfire might give like AoE to the passive or something. I don't know if that causes more problems than it actually solves. I'm not even sure what problem we're actually trying to solve here, honestly.
I'm not sure either. Let's go for the ultimate. Woo.
Yay! We still don't know what the champion's trying to do. So okay,
they're trying to buff up people.
I think it's area control. It's area control and buffing.
Yes.
Also, a small sideline in vision, which is probably good because it's about flame, so that makes sense. Let's move some stuff around to give us a bit more space. Whoop. There you go, over here. Let's move up. Alright, so we've got a bit of room for the ultimate. So, if we're gonna... we still haven't really figured out what the fire does yet, but... I guess that idea is there, so...
we made another Rakan!
Seems like an aggressive support like Rakan.
God damn it.
I think it's more... well, there's no engage from them. I mean, they are whacking stuff.
They're whacking and chucking, but like you could do that with Lulu as well if you played her more aggressive.
Well, Lulu's very heavy on the poke, isn't she? Whereas I feel like if the Cauterize thing is like a cone AoE, then that's more defensive because like those kind of effects are more used for like because if someone's coming towards you, there's a lot more space for hitting them. Whereas if they're going away from you, those kind of effects are inherently worse.
So Tato, our problem is that we were trying to go for an enchanter, and it seems like we're not getting the enchanty stuff across. What's going on here? Why is this not enchanty? Because I feel like it is. I feel like it's just like some dude bruh with a flaming staff standing next to you, giving you all of those buffs and like AoE effects, and sometimes sweeping at the enemy, like shoo shoo, go away.
It's all about bullying the enemies and providing allies the means to attack.
Wait, no, that's not what an enchanter is.
Sona is like an enchanter. Well, so in this case...
you can play an aggressive Sona.
Well, so Lulu and Sona are both very poke-heavy. I guess the main thing we're kind of missing here is shields. Shields or, like, so the Lulu Wild Growth, for instance, like... I mean, we could just... Sona is kind of attached to a carry. Well, I think in this case, the spells called... sorry, the Relight My Fire stuff, it relies on you being with someone.
I mean, you could use it if you're not with someone, but then you don't really have damage. Like a little bit of damage, but not really.
Oh, you're suggesting that the Q would give the buff to them as well?
No, but shooting a flame in a direction explodes and provides vision minor damage. So like it's still a skill shot that when it hits something it does damage. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
So like you're sort of attached to your carry.
Yeah. I feel like this is one of those conversations where it's like people are coming at things from a different angle, so it's because our ideas are so close, it's hard to sort of really understand what the person's sort of where the sticking point is. But Wolf, if you can think of a way which we can try to sort of mix things up here to make it more enchanter-y, then 100%. Well, I mean, the ultimate's, I guess, the main place where we can do that sort of thing. Like, you know, that could be a... for an enchanter, would say ally interactions are more important. So yeah, we definitely have the RB something that interacts with allies specifically. I mean, looking at some of the abilities that get through on champions, they don't necessarily have to be like massively tied into the existing kit. Like, they sometimes just do tend to be... I mean, I noticed, like, for Brand, that his ultimate it really interacts with his passive quite heavily. And it's very tied in, but some champions' ults really just don't.
Yeah. So... we could just throw in something random here. Like a fire shield. A big, fat fire shield.
Fireball.
Fireball! Just fireball.
Oh no, firewall.
Just fireball. Oh, firewall. Oh, sorry. I was talking about the...
Skellig, this seems OP Bandit. Oh no! We were so young and yet so removed. Well, what about a creeping firewall that they kind of put in a direction? Like, it's like basically like a slow moving Ornn ultimate that's kind of like the Yasuo Windwall shape.
That could be cool. Does it deal damage?
I think maybe it's like damage and grievous wounds. but you can just if it's not used. I imagine like it's so Yassil Wind Wall kind of shaped, and it kind of advances over time slowly, so that it can be used to sort of lock down parts of things or make people want to go through there basically. But it's not like going to eviscerate a team if you use it. Like I think specifically it should be slow moving to stop it just being an ultimate.
Yep. And it could sort of leave a trail behind it that if you walk on it, it gives you cool fire effects.
What about a big ass smoke screen, Wolf? Oh god, I hate smoke screen effects, but I mean it's
could be fun.
The thing is, you could do that, which ties in with the E in some way, that you kind of like it's some sort of putting out the light effect that he kind of like just generates a big smoke cloud, maybe from him and from the fire, but it puts the fire out. That could be kind of interesting. Though okay. I kind of hate the smokescreen effect in the game. I think it's like I've been on Wild Rift, I've been playing against Graves and just been like, this is so intensely annoying. Like as a mechanic, it just feels awful to play against.
Okay, so no smoke screens then. I like the idea of the wall of fire just slowly sort of advancing through a certain area, and then like you can't pass through it. You also can't shoot projectiles or abilities through it.
Well, maybe it blocks vision behind it. That if your vision line would pass through the firewall, that you just don't see them there. Like there's terrain there. So if it was sort of a fiery wall, but with smoke kind of pouring out of it.
So it leaves like a smoky trail.
More like it's got smoke. Like so, the actual advancing wall is kind of like it's got sort of smoke coming out of it to kind of explain why it blocks vision.
Okay. Sure.
So this would be vision. So it's kind of like a moving, slowly moving Yasuo wind wall that blocks vision, projectiles, and do we want it to actually? I think it feels like it should be an option to go through the firewall, but just not an option that you'd want to take lightly.
Yeah, massive amounts of pain. So, I don't know, lots of damage, and you start burning.
Okay.
Large damage to enemies!
Massive damage! Hit their weak points! I mean, maybe not massive damage, but a huge... Oh, actually, yeah! Skellig, I like that more.
That's nice.
Yeah,
so it's
okay.
Like, it melts off all their...
Yeah, I like that more.
Poggers. Large damage.
Maybe it gives them grievous wounds or something as well. Because why not? This is just the kit for grievous wounds.
Okay, let's go.
Because I feel like that kind of thing is, again, more like team supportive, generally. It's not specifically enchanting.
Man!
But
maybe he has like a very enchanting personality.
We're trying to get them to be an enchanter based on technicalities. Skellig, so what is Melty?
We don't know.
So Melty is grievous. Its grievous wounds won't apply. There we go. That's a bit clearer.
No, Melty is better, Wolf. Melty is better.
I mean, we can still include both of them.
No. 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 We have made up this word. It will stay.
Oh no, I want to keep the Melty in. I'm just gonna actually explain it. Am I spelling grievous? Grievous.
Yes, you're
wrong?
spelling it grievous.
Oh, grievous. Okay.
Isn't it grievous? Like, IE?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Grievous.
Confusion.
General Grievous. Grivehouse.
Gravoo.
The Gravoo. Oh my. Alright, so we've got like the kind of a lot of stuff which we've kind of
egregious boots.
egregious. Oh no. So we still got to figure out what the campfire does.
It's pretty.
So
Does, I don't know. I think the vision extension and healing AoE regeneration aura, maybe? As a sick combo.
so take
I do like the recall point idea, but I think it's a bit much.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a way. It's spelled with only one I. Yes, I think I have no idea how to spell anything, so.
That's fair. The
It's
English
because-
language is weird.
I can't right click and get suggestions. It tells me it's wrong. It just doesn't tell me what is right. So I'm not used to actually having to remember how to spell anything.
Tell me why.
Alright, so yeah, let's get rid of the recall point. I think that's a cute idea, but it's probably
Maybe not for
problems
this
were.
one.
So are we just gonna go with the AoE regen and vision extension? Like that's the most basic version of. I mean, it does at least hit the whole sort of hearth home idea.
Mhm.
And it's also not terribly difficult to understand, whereas I think that maybe giving buffs to enemies in that area is a little bit harder to understand.
Yep.
I kind of like the idea as well that so something in favour of the AoE regen is that you wouldn't necessarily be fighting specifically around the fire. You could fight a little bit away from the fire and fall back to it.
Hmm.
So that would make it more safe. Then you wouldn't be getting the in-combat heal, but you would... Well, that's another thing as well. Should it be an in-combat heal or just an out-of-combat heal? Because that makes it a very different kind of thing. Because if it's only out of combat, that means you kind of have to fight away from it, and then just come back to it.
I think it would make sense for it to be an out-of-combat heal, but like, you don't have to fight away from it. You can still be there and protect it, and like fight right on top of it to make sure that the enemy doesn't get it. It's just, it won't give you full effects for when you're right there.
Okay. Because yeah, I'm not. Even though I suggested it, I don't know. Like, it's.
Oh, what about this? It's healing out of combat, but when you're in combat, like the moment you enter combat, you get a small shield.
Okay.
Small shield of fire.
Yeah, okay, so it's like a sort of regenerating, sort of pulsing out shield kind of thing. In combat regen isn't big, but out of combat you feel more impact. You have to watch the counterplay with counterfire because then you can just put it on your tower and it never dies. Well, so I guess Skellig, my answer to that would be yes. So that's definitely something to consider because yeah, I guess that's an in-lane concern. Is that yeah, you would just have it permanently under your tower and you'd go back to it over and over again. So that would basically just be like unlimited, but bard heals. So that is something to think about.
Maybe you have to leave the area, like the the AoE area, and then step back in to reactivate it. But you can only do that if you have taken damage in the time span between leaving the area and entering it again.
Oh, actually, I like Wolf's idea, which is that it's a bit like a Heimerdinger turret, so that you've got to be near it, or it starts to deteriorate a lot faster.
Sure.
So that would stop you from putting it under your own turret, because while you could, if you were pushed back right to your turret, you could, but once you're out into the lane, you'd have to put it in a riskier position to be able to make use of it while you were still laning. Yeah, I like that idea. So duration decreases more rapidly once a firekeeper leaves nearby area. Yeah, I think that sort of solves a lot of the problems. So thank you guys for...
we need a name.
Fiery the Firekeeper.
No, a name for the E first.
Oh. Put a shrimp on the barbie?
No, but it could be like Cozy Campfire Time.
That's even worse.
Come on, you came up with Melty Blood. Whatever that is.
I just remember reading it somewhere and thinking it was a cool phrase.
Okay, wait. There was another thing that I was singing earlier.
Okay. Please chat suggest something before something terrible comes up.
What was I singing? Relight My Fire was the one thing, and then there was another one.
Eternal Flame?
Like, an eternal flame. Right.
I mean, it could just be called Eternal Flame.
It could be. It could potentially be an eternal flame if you keep it up.
Firelight Shrine? Yeah? Yeah, I like that.
Shrine? Yeah, it's nice.
It's more copyrightable.
Sure.
Oh, Peace of the Eternal Flame. I don't know, I just...
No, Piece of the Eternal Flame.
Flame? Oh, Skelly! You embarrass yourself and everyone else who knows you. That small typo. Yeah, no, I think Firelight Shrine sounds pretty nice, actually. That's very cozy sounding.
It sounds very cute. I like it. And
Yeah.
ours just Firewall? Firewall.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a great name, but it's... like, it does at least communicate what it is. Maybe the firewall has like an effect on allies as well. Maybe it buffs them. Firelink Shrine is Dark Souls. I don't think Firelight Shrine is that bad. Like, I mean, this isn't, you know...
It could just be like Firelight Hearth. If Shrine is too much.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, yeah, I kind of like that. That works. Okay. I'm trying to think, like, what's the fun... So if we had it be... if it's healing out of combat, maybe... It could just be that the healing is less when you're in combat.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of thinking the shield sort of functionally does the same thing.
Yeah.
Sorry, you were saying?
I think Wolf said something like that earlier. In combat, regeneration isn't big, but out of combat, you feel more of an impact.
I think they were talking about that sort of generally.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about this one specifically now, so...
Okay, yeah, I like... So, I think, yeah, if we just say it's increased when you're out of combat, so it's kind of like it's something that you kind of fall back to rather than necessarily... I think you probably shouldn't be fighting directly around it anyway, or at least on it, because I feel like...
Because it's dangerous.
That's true. You should also keep your puppets inside.
Okay. Do you really want to stick to Firewall for R? I'm not happy with that. It sounds very boring.
I mean... What? I feel more than free to come up with something clever. I mean, Fireball is thematically kind of lame, admittedly. Wall of Fire!
Wall of Fire!
Wall of Fire!
Wait.
I mean, I don't know. Through the Eternal Flame? Ooh? Oh my gosh, these guys are getting very excited about an ability
There's a
immediately
song.
don't like.
There's a song by Morrissey from 1988 that's called Hairdresser on Fire.
Okay, how are we going to incorporate that into this?
I don't know! Make up your mind.
Through this... Okay. Sure, since you... I mean...
This wheel's on fire. home is afire, my love is on fire, the roof is on fire. Room's on fire. I don't know.
Okay, well let's say, yeah, so I think it should buff allies, because that makes it feel more like they're in sort of enchantering. So it gives allies melty blood, obviously. I mean, it could just give them a small, like, it could just give them the same amount of armor and magic resist it would take away from enemies. Because I guess it could kind of be a whole sort of, like, pass through the flame and come out.
Yeah!
Like, you know, either enhanced or diminished because you're not worthy or something.
Isn't there like a saying for this? Like an initiation rite that's like through the fire and the flames?
No.
Come on.
You don't think you should give allies melty, but if the ally already has it, there's an additional buff.
I think that makes sense.
Okay. Well, to be fair, like...
I know, Skelly, that's why I'm making the reference.
I think, well, the passive currently just gives friendly targets who are affected by your spells melty blood anyway, so it kind of doesn't matter if it does. Unless it's going to specifically not do that.
I don't think it should give them melty blood, because then it would sort of like support its own effect, you know?
Well, I mean, I'm not quite sure with the whole idea of them having to have melty blood to get an extra effect on it. Like, it's interesting, but it doesn't work terribly well with the other ideas at play. I guess
Why? If they're already on fire, then they can just pass through the eternal flame wall. That's like the idea of it. And if they're not on fire, I mean, they can pass through it. It's gonna be fine. They're gonna have a great time, but it's not gonna do anything anyway.
So it's like there's the three states. Either you're an enemy and you can't pass through it, or you get burned by it, or you're just a normie and you just get a small buff, or you have been sanctified and you get a big buff.
Yeah. Big buffs. Itty bitty buffs. Mississippi buffs. Inner city buffs. I like the pretty buffs with the bow ties. Get your nails hit. Let blow dry.
Okay. Alright, yeah. I mean, there's a... Yes, I guess that the whole sanctify thing sort of works there.
Mm-hmm. Maybe we could call the melty blood thing Sanctify.
Yeah.
So it doesn't sound so weird anymore.
Okay. I think that's become a very a big thing for Rise, is to keyword everything, even if it just makes the keyword so broad as to be meaningless. Alright, do we have melty anywhere else? Don't think so. Alright, we can have it not block projectile. I don't think that's really necessary.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
But I like the idea of it blocking vision, just because I think that's a kind of a fun mechanic, which I don't think anyone's really done yet. Okay.
Cool. Now we still need a name for the man, the myth, the firekeeper.
Alright, so...
How about Guy Fury?
Guy Fury? Oh my gosh. Fury Man.
Philip, the firekeeper.
Phil.
Phil, the firekeeper.
Hey, you got your fear right here. Oh gosh, this is not the easiest system to work with. Okay, there we go. Alright, so we need some names before we call them Phil the Firekeeper, because that's just going to be awful.
Thesaurus. Oops. I can't even type.
Firekeeper Phil, if you want to switch it around. Alright, so we need words for fire, because...
Oh my god!
Okay, right. This is going to be good.
No, it's not good. The first word that I found in the thesaurus, I was just looking at like all the words, and my eyes just went to the center, and the word in the center is Holocaust.
Jesus Christ, no, we're not going to be calling them that.
No.
Thank you for getting us taken off the internet as well.
Oh, Dante!
That's pretty on the nose, but
okay.
It's... We could probably have something Dante adjacent.
Daniel? Danny the Firekeeper?
Danny the Firekeeper's lad?
The Caustic Hollow. No. Stop.
Caustic Hollow sounds like some sort of infection.
Yeah.
I think, Caustic, if we wanted to make him be grumpy, then something which sounds a bit like Caustic is probably okay. Colin.
Klaus.
Klaus. Klaus the Lighthouse Keeper, also Barkeeper. That was a stupid joke, Skellig. Evidently, you haven't been here before.
This is all we do.
We just function on stupid jokes. Oh gosh, it's so hard to... Right, if I keep that there, I should be able to select again.
Okay, wait, give me Google Translator.
Translate me Googles.
Translator.
Alright.
Okay.
Let's all look up words for...
Oops. Fire. Oh! Wouldn't you know it? Fire in German means brand. Huh.
I wonder if that's how they got there.
It also means brand in Swedish.
Okay, so... Let's call them brand, and let's see what the problem is. Combustion, conflagration, embers, charring.
If we made a girl, we could name her Amber.
Yeah, that's true. Aiden. Aiden's kind of probably more in the right sort of area. We're probably looking for like Deckard Cain. I think has a sort of right style of name for this, where it's like an oldish sounding name. I think we were shooting for someone who was around sort of middle age rather than.
Yeah, like I don't know, like your age. Oh my god! In Fire in Icelandic is literally elder.
I mean, we could just do that. There is... I've never heard of this word before, but... Phlogiston. Phlogiston is apparently something to do with fire? What does it mean?
I don't know.
A substance supposed by 18th century chemists to exist in all combustible bodies and to be released in combustion. Phlogiston. That's sort of... We could make a name which is kind of like that.
Like what?
Phlogiston.
That sounds strange. Like a...
Pyrus? Yeah.
Pirates!
Pirates? Several pirates. I mean, yeah, Pyrus is very on the nose, but it's not really stopped League of Legends before.
Googling gods of fire. Okay, Ra is considered a fire god. Sun, light, warmth, and growth, and that would sort of fit, I suppose.
We could combine Ra with something else.
Ra 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 ah ah. Uh-huh.
Well, I'm glad this show has really peaked. Pyre.
Pyre Rat.
The Pyre Rat. He's secretly a pirate and no one's noticed. Ugh.
Oh, Ed. It's like AED. And it's apparently, wait, Irish god whose name means fire.
Pyre Rat.
Ed the Pyre Rat. Make him a rat. No.
It's a giant walking rat.
It's just,
I'm a rat, friend.
Oh my god, it could be Twitch's brother. Pyre Rat.
Oh my gosh.
We need to keep that around. We need to keep that idea around. Maybe we make the pirate next time.
Oh, the Pyre Rat. I mean, that's pretty funny.
He's a red of the pirate.
Honestly, I think we should. Just because then he could just have a pirate skin immediately.
Yeah. That's just the base skin.
Maybe, okay, so maybe he got lost at sea and he found the flame out there, that's why he's a Pyre Rat. I don't know. I just like his title to be the Pyre Rat, just because it's funny.
Okay. Is he a rat though? Or is that like, he could just be a normal guy, but everybody, like he's just ratting people out?
I think that's too many steps removed. I think he needs to be an actual rat.
Frick.
I mean, he can still be a male rat.
Yeah, but like, then next time we need to make a female rat.
Do we?
There are 2 male rats in the game. Do you think that's how reproduction works?
Are all champions required to reproduce with each other?
I don't know. I don't want to think about that.
I mean, people have.
Okay, so we have Phil the Pyre Rat. Are we keeping the name Phil around?
Probably not. What was yours? A8? It just said Ed.
I didn't have pronunciation guidelines there, but I think Ed is fine. It's Ed, the Pyre Rat. That's just because it rhymes a little bit.
I feel like
and now don't tell me that Ed and Rat don't rhyme.
Ed, Rat? What?
What do you mean?
I feel like your rhyming senses might be defective.
I think it's just your accent that's defective. What the fuck?
How do you rhyme duh with tuh?
That's an unclean rhyme. That's not what I mean. Whatever. Whatever.
What do you mean?
In my ears, they rhyme. We're not gonna talk about it anymore.
We're not, are we?
No!
Okay, well, let's... I mean, I'm not going to process that too much. Let's just move on. Alright, so I think we could use something, like, if we're going to go with Ed, then I think we need something else on there, like some kind of extension of the name, like Edon or something.
Adrian.
Yo, Adrian!
Adrian the Pyretrian.
Like Edric or something?
Mm-hmm. Could be good too. Edlin.
Adrian Cole? Adrian Cole? I don't know what that's a reference to. I bet...
He's just a rat like Twitch. Yeah, maybe Ed is fine. Maybe he's the more cultivated rat.
Oh, Adrian Cole, Cole burns in fire. Okay, yeah, fair enough. Actually, he could just be called Cole. Like, that would be... that would be...
Why didn't we think about that?
Cole, the fire rat. Yeah, okay, I think that's the best we're gonna do.
Mm-hmm. Cole, the Pyre Rat. Is he still a Pyre Rat?
I don't know, I just kind of like the joke so much that...
That's like the same as we had with Boo Boo the Bunk Owl. It just turned out to be an owl. No turning back.
I do kind of like the idea that it's a more cultivated rat who kind of like, you know, he's a rat, but he's not like, you know...
Can it be like a French rat? Because he has like this staff that he stabs people with, like kind of like a hoo-ha.
He becomes a duelist. I'm a completely changing character at this point. The pirate thing's so dumb-scaling, but that's what makes it appealing. Also,
yeah.
You might be so dumb.
Don't be rude to our children. They will come for you.
Oh, I definitely recommend checking out All My Fantasy Children as well. It's a great podcast where people make up characters for RPGs. It has a very similar process where they just come up with silly jokes and make those into actual things.
Yeah, that's the best thing. Like, if you want to see something really, really stupid, then go back to season 1 and watch the Cross episode.
Oh God, he
was really
his legs.
He sits with his legs crossed.
No,
yeah.
I think because it will get us more attention than having a sensible name, Oh wait, I've actually zoomed out a little bit too far. I think I can insult my own children. Skellig, you may have come up with a name, but it's also written in the small print here that any of the ideas you suggest here will be stolen and turned into a bastardization of what you intended. Like, that is 100%.
That's what we do here on the show.
So, okay. Yeah, no, I'm interested. So, Cole the Pyre Rat. It's really crap, but it will make people... Honestly, if it gets people's attention, then it's done its job. Which is that it actually made people go like, "Heh." And it also sounds like a sensible name on first blush as well, which is important. I think it's more interesting for them to be a rat than them to just be a guy. Oh my gosh, we're getting the art version done already. Yes, I like the idea of a non-human, but human. I mean, Twitch is a non-human but humanoid, I guess. Oh my gosh, I love your drawings. He just looks sad. Alright, so we need some backstory. That's how we're doing. Oh god, we're almost at 2 hours already, Jesus.
Shit. I wanted to go to bed at some point.
Alright, so backstory is that Cole at one point was a pirate, but now he's become a Pyre Rat. In an ironic twist of fate, as he was lost at sea and then discovered the dying embers of the eternal flame, and they spoke to him and encouraged him to sacrifice maybe part of his soul to keep them alive, which is definitely not stealing from Dark Souls heavily. And now he carries the flame with him within his breast. Oh, maybe his chest is hollowed out and the fire's in there, because that would be kind of weird.
Holy shit, that's dark.
That's pretty metal though. Like, yeah, no, it's replaced his heart. He put his heart into the flames, and now inside his chest he's just got a fire.
But what about the stuff with the flame on top?
Maybe it's... Well, his blood is fire, so the fire comes from him, and the staff is just the instrument he uses to act with it.
Bruh! Your blood is fire! Thanks, bruh.
Your blood is mad sick fire. Yeah, I like this idea. Okay, so that was kind of improv, but yeah. Fireheart guy. That's kind of cool. I mean, yeah, maybe he's got like little glowing fiery veins or something go for him. Yeah, that's kind of neat. And like, I guess maybe his like his staff like has kind of is connected to him or something. I don't know.
It's too much for the limited tools that I have here. Sorry.
No, I like it. This is really good. You've already got the idea of the fiery veins across very well. Like, immediately, that's a tremendously more interesting character than it would have been otherwise.
And he's got a stick! With the flame on top of it.
Alright, so cool, there we go. That's his backstory. He's the bearer of the Eternal Flame. He's hoping to get into a girl band at some point, but hasn't made it yet.
Girl band?
Yeah, for the Eternal Flame thing.
Alright.
Alright, so yeah, there we go. That's his backstory. That's more backstory than Urgot got.
Urgot has a lot of backstory.
Does
You're
he
talking
now?
about Gragas.
I thought Urgot... Where did Urgot get more... He now travels the world trying to kindle the flame within people's hearts. You're right. Maybe that's true. Maybe he can... Yeah, maybe he can, like, leave that trace of the fire on someone. Like, it's like a sort of religious thing. That he kind of... Yeah, if someone, like, communes with the fire, he can kind of give some part of that to them. And maybe eventually... Oh, maybe he's been living for a really long time, and that he's hoping to eventually find someone who will take on the flame for him.
He's trying to pass the torch!
Yes!
What?
There we go! He's trying to pass the torch, but he hasn't found anyone worthy yet. Maybe it's Poppy. Maybe it's Poppy's who he's going to find eventually. I don't know. That kind of like crossed over too much.
Already busy with her freaking hammer.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I think this is actually like not a bad idea for a thing. Because, like, yeah, when he finds the worthy recipient, he'll die because obviously he hasn't got a heart anymore.
Oh my god!
But he's lived for such a long time, so he's like, you know, he's kind of a bit tired of the whole thing.
Yeah, makes sense.
But yeah, I don't think he needs to be like sort of decrepit to that. Like it keeps him sort of in his.
It keeps him on fire.
Skellig has one question. Okay.
Shoot.
So yeah, I like the kind of religious angle. Maybe you can have a Pope hat. I don't know.
I can't fit the Pope hat on there.
How does he feel about passing the torch? Is he desperate or just resigned? I think it's like a religious mission for him. So like, I don't think he's like sort of desperate, but it's like, I think he knew what he was signing up for, but he doesn't want to pass it to someone who I think isn't going to be worthy of it. So I don't think it's like a kind of a desperation thing. It's like I think he's
like
kind of going around testing people.
There's an urge there, but like not enough to go head over heels after someone who might not be worthy. Which is why he's fighting on Summoner's Rift, to find someone who's worthy to carry the torch.
Yeah, I love it. It's a thing. All right, so now we need to come up with some voice lines for this dude.
Can we skip the voice lines? I want to go sleep.
All right, quick, Skellig, let's come up with something. What does Twitch sound like? All right, he's gonna have that voice. It's a eternal flame. Heffy wants to go to sleep.
Relight my fire.
You don't seem like you're really worthy. It's just Mickey Mouse.
It's just. Hello, Mickey Mouse.
Oh boy. Why are they burning? I'll light your fire.
We didn't start the fire.
Oh, yeah. Oh boy, we're gonna be in so much trouble for this one. All right, there we go. Another soul sanctified. All right, yeah, there we go. That's the worst thing we could have done, and therefore the best thing we could have done as well.
Terrible, terrible, terrible.
Yep, I like it. I think this is actually pretty decent. I think the whole idea of building the fire is quite fun. I don't know if this super feels like Enchanter, but I do think it's very dependent on other champions to to function. So I think that sort of fulfills. We'll see what Reddit makes of it. Probably just to completely ignore it, honestly. We can use it as a marketing strategy. All right, so I'm actually back off of doing Thursday casting, so we can start going back to weekly stuff if people can make it. We've also got the idea of trying to design a TFT set, so that I think we're going to require some amount of extra prep to make that worthwhile.
Yeah.
Like we're probably going to need some art and stuff for it. Yeah, we'll have to figure it out. But yeah, so Happy can get to sleep, and so I can go run outside for a bit. Oh god, I'm so slow now. It's terrible. I've been stopped running for ages. So I'd crawl outside until someone sets me on fire. But yeah, so if everything goes to plan, we'll be back next Thursday at 8 o'clock UK, 9 EU. Assuming everyone can make it, or at least two of us can make it, I suppose. To do some more champion forgering. If you guys wouldn't mind dropping a follow on things, it would certainly help with making this a thing. But yeah, you guys know who we are. Counterfeit, Happy Light Sense. Exodus couldn't make it along today. But thank you guys for coming along. It's helped a lot to have you guys throwing suggestions in. I think this is a lot better than it would have been otherwise.
Yeah, we wouldn't have come up with the Pyre Rat, for sure.
No, even though that's become like a big regret.
It's not. It's perfect.
I'm gonna put this on Reddit. So I'm gonna put a few more explanation notes on here. Fire in veins and flame replacing heart.
Are we streaming tomorrow?
I can definitely stream tomorrow. Can you stream tomorrow?
Yeah. So, see you guys tomorrow for breakfast and TFT.
Yeah, I've got my Smurf account. I'm still managing to stay in Diamond on my main. So cool. Yeah. So we'll catch you guys then. How exciting! There we go. Cole the Pyre Rat.
Cool.
Regrets. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this was actually that's exactly the kind of terrible name that I could really see coming true. Yeah, see you guys tomorrow. Gute Nacht, everybody.